Anyway, good afternoon. On behalf of the Texas Department of State Health Services, I welcome you here today to discuss and as we seek input for the state's consumable hemp program. My name is Stephen Paul. I am the Associate Commissioner for the Consumer Protection Division at the Department of State Health Services, and my division will be responsible for overseeing the state's consumable hemp program. I'm also joined here with Lady in Green, Ms. Barbara Klein. She's my general counsel. She will be helping me through our comment period, and she'll throw some penalty flags on me if I get off base. So thank you for your patience as we walk through this. House Bill 1325 requires the Department of State Health Services to establish a program to provide oversight for the manufacturing and retail sale of consumable hemp products. Today, DSHS is outlining conceptually how the program will function and welcomes input about the program's development and operation. We do not have draft rules available at this time. Instead, public comments that we received today and in the future will help us shape those rules as they continue through the process. We will go over the rulemaking process later in the presentation, but before, we would like to underscore that this meeting is occurring before the official rulemaking process. When we publish the proposed rules, both informally and formally, we also will invite you to comment on those rules at that time. We welcome all comments today about the framework we will describe in the next few slides. We especially welcome comments today related to testing and sampling protocols, registration and permit fees, multi-location licensing and registrations, and records management that will ensure compliance with House Bill 1325. The public comment forms you submit today have checkboxes for you to indicate your interest in various topics as the rules are developed and the program is established. Should we need to facilitate another stakeholder meeting based on those comments, we will do so in the future and make sure that you are informed about that. Today's agenda is outlined here over my right shoulder, and we will start with a brief overview of the framework of the Texas Consumable Hemp Program. We will outline the next steps and transition into the public comment period. Today's hearing is scheduled to conclude at 3 p.m. If you are registered to testify prior to 3 p.m. and we have not yet heard your testimony, we will extend the time up until 5 p.m. today. Providing written comments today or via email through October 11th is also an option that you have available. The written comment forms provide additional details about the process. The forms are available at the table that you saw right outside the doors here where you registered this afternoon. And I want you to be aware that you must register with us in order to make comments. So make sure that you have done that already. As a reminder, HB 1325 was authored by Representative Tracy King, and we have staff here today, so thank you for joining, as well as Senator Charles Perry, who sponsored the bill along with Tracy King. He has some staff here as well, so thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us. And 1325 directs the Texas Department of Agriculture, and I have some of my colleagues here today, to submit the state's hemp plan to the United States Department of Agriculture related to the production and harvest of hemp. HB 1325 addresses both non-consumable and consumable hemp products, and both TDA and DSHS are also directed by House Bill 1325 to collaborate with the Texas Department of Public Safety on certain elements of the bill as well. I'd also like to take this time to acknowledge Representative Drew Springer, who is present with us today. He is the chairman of the House Agricultural Committee, which is the bill came through this committee. So thank you, Mr. Springer, for being here with us. Specific to consumable hemp products, HB 1325 directs the Department of State Health Services to establish a regulatory program related to manufacturing and retail sale of consumable hemp products. We hope that this program's framework discussed today will set expectations, and DSHS develops and establishes the Texas Consumable Hemp Program. The goals of the framework are based on what the Consumer Protection Division hopes to accomplish with each program it operates. Especially with HB 1325, we want to ensure continuity with multiple agencies charged with establishing hemp programs so that stakeholders needing to engage with those agencies framework can operate with the same set of expectations that the law allows. Our framework is also meant to provide clarity to many individuals that have and will contact DSHS about wanting to become licensed or registered. I'd like to tell you that the Consumer Protection Program oversees dozens of regulatory programs and has experience implementing many new programs like this one. As with any of our regulatory programs, we strive to ensure that safe products are made available to consumers. We also recognize that discussions related to consumable hemp products are happening at multiple levels in the United States. As many in this room know, there could be additional guidance put out by our federal partners, especially the Food and Drug Administration and the United States Department of Agriculture. Should this additional guidance necessitate changes to our rule development or program implementation, we want to assure you that the program is able and will communicate this to our licensees and registration holders as well as our consumers. The elements on this slide show multiple components of the DSHS consumable hemp program, including program rules, information documents, and program operations. The program rules, of course, will cover both manufacturing and retail programs. The rules will also specifically outline the fee amounts for both manufacturing and retail sales. Should DSHS need to amend the fees in the future, that would require engaging the formal rulemaking process once again. Informal documents will serve as an important supplement to the program rules. They are meant to cover various topics and provide clarity as issues emerge as we move through this process. While the requirements of the manufacturing and retail programs differ slightly, we hope to utilize an online system to handle the registration and renewal processes for both of these programs. And this is intended to streamline the process and ensure the most efficient use of agency resources. As with our other programs, the Consumable Hemp program will also have dedicated staff for licensing, registration, and of course, compliance. The Consumable Hemp manufacturing program will have an annual license as outlined in HB 1325. The program itself it will cover manufacturing, processing, and distributing consumable hemp products prior to retail sale. There are other details to be worked out for entities currently licensed as food manufacturers under Chapter 431 of the Texas Health and Safety Code. But we still expect those newly licensed under Chapter 443, established by HB 1325, to utilize the following standards. Those are good manufacturing processes to ensure that the manufacturer of consumable hemp products does not introduce elements to the final product that may be harmful to consumers. Examples of this would be heavy metals in the product, as outlined in the statute, and of course, patents. There will also be an annual registration for the retail operators, as outlined in HB 1325. The retail program will ensure oversight of retail products processed or manufactured both inside the state and outside. We expect retail registration holders to comply with the rules that relate to random testing, labeling, record keeping, and other applicable requirements authorized by HB 1325. Because HB 1325 effectively establishes retailers as the backstop against the sale of products that may not have all records related to testing, we want to ensure our retailers are clear in their role and the steps that they need to take to ensure compliance. So next steps. Before we transition into the public comment period, we wanted to generally outline the next steps for establishing the consumable hemp program at DSHS. Today is just one step in this process. You will have an opportunity to weigh in on the draft rules before we enter the formal rulemaking period. This slide also generally outlines the Health and Human Services System process. As you can see, as I mentioned earlier, we we are not yet in a formal rulemaking process. In the future, you will have an opportunity to look at a draft version of the rules and provide informal comments in the future. You will also have an opportunity to provide formal comments as well once the rule is officially published. Please be advised that our rules are submitted to the HHSC Executive Council as part of our process, which typically occurs after receiving informal comments like we're going to receive today. The HHS Executive Council typically meets on a quarterly basis, and we will communicate with you when these specific rules are scheduled to appear before that council. As I also mentioned earlier, we welcome all comments that relate to DSHS's development of the Consumable Hemp program outlined in HB 1325. We also especially welcome feedback on the testing and sampling protocols, fees amount that must be included in the rules, how to handle multi-location licensing and registrations, as well as records management for both manufacturing and retail programs. So a little bit about the public comment transition here at this time. We will now be moving into this portion of the agenda. Public and stakeholder involvement is an important part of this rule development process. If anyone in the audience here today wants to make a public comment and has not already completed the registration card, we ask that you do that at this time. The forms are available outside the front door, as I mentioned earlier. The last slide today will also have contact information for submitting any information that you might want to do electronically. So we will observe a 3-minute time limit per person wishing to provide a comment. When you have 1 minute left, the timer will beep. The timer's right here on the table and turn yellow. There will be another beep and the light will turn red when it is time to stop. We ask that everyone be considerate of this time limit and end your comments when your time is up so that all can have a time to share their comments with us. Also, to make sure there is time for everyone who wishes to comment, I ask that you avoid repeating what was previously said. We have note takers throughout the audience today capturing all the comments made today. So please be considerate of those behind you. We ask that each speaker state their name and the name of the group that they represent prior to making the comments so that we can get that on record and speak directly into the microphone so that the rest of the audience can understand and hear you. Please come to the table and podium right up here. It's not really podium, but we have a microphone here. We'll call your name and please share your comments. There will be no open discussion during this meeting. We have a fairly full house and we hope to meet our agenda objectives today. So, however, we will be considering the information that you provide today as we move through the rule development process. Also, please be aware that oral and written comments received today are a matter of public health. With that, we will go ahead and get started. All right. Blair Hines.
Yeah, notes with me because otherwise I'm going to questions. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My name is Blair Hines. My wife and I own Old West Farm in Sullivan County. I'm here today to request that your deliberations on the regulations for the manufacture of consumable hemp products you consider how to empower the ability of the small non-corporate farmers that are indigenous to Texas so they can participate from the economic benefits. I don't know.
You got to talk into it.
Go ahead.
It wasn't on.
I'd like the time to start, please. Can everybody hear me now? Yes. Sorry, I kind of got my backwards, everybody. Okay, thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My name is Blair Hines. My wife and I own Old West Farms in Coffin County. I'm here today to request that your deliberations on the regulations for the manufacture of consumable hemp products you consider how to empower the ability of the small non-corporate farmers that are indigenous to Texas so that they can participate in the economic benefits of introducing hemp as an agricultural crop in Texas. If the state is overrun by out-of-state or out-of-country manufacturers, the small Texas farmers will be subject to competing with growers from states that have a substantial head start in hemp growth, having developed corporate farming techniques, or with hemp being grown outside of Texas, coming into the state from long-established corporate farms that will dominate the provision of biomass for the manufacture of CBD consumable products. Farmers in Texas that have struggled to make ends meet, to provide for their families or pay off their mortgages, need your assistance to be able to compete with these out-of-state entities. I believe the quality of hemp consumables manufactured by the Texas farmers can and will provide for a better and safer product for the Texas consumer. My cousin and I, through Top of the Hill Farm and Old West Farms, have been providing organically grown fruit and vegetables to the East Texas market in our own small way. We can barely cover the ongoing costs of doing so. The full cost of the development of our farms will never be recovered. We persevere to be able to share our lifestyle with others. There are many examples of how your agency can help. The state of Oklahoma, in their recent licensing regulations for the cultivation and processing of hemp products, has included these two regulations. One, all applicants, including all members, management, and board members, must be residents of the state of Oklahoma. Also, the entity ownership must, as a minimum, be 75% owned by Oklahoma residents.
If I could ask you to wrap up soon.
Pardon me?
If I could ask you to wrap up soon.
Okay, I'm just preparing. They also recognize through licensing procedures the benefits of vertical integration of the cultivation and manufacture of consumable products. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. Chris Lumley. Is that right? Yep. I apologize for anybody's.
Hi, my name is Chris Ludley. I'm president of Hemp Oil Technologies, a Texas-based company looking to establish a hemp oil manufacturing facility in North Texas next year. We believe that this business will be a vital part of the infrastructure needed to connect Texas hemp farmers to the world market for CBD oil. There are two main comments we'd like you all to consider when drafting the regulations for hemp oil processors. First, gas chromatography as an acceptable method for cannabinoid analysis. In my many years of experience as a lab manager of a solvent manufacturing facility, including pharmaceutical products, gas chromatography is used for all aspects of our production and final purity testing. It is a quick, accurate, and reliable method for purity testing of a very large variety of products. There is existing commercially available gas chromatography, or GC, equipment, valid testing methods to test for cannabinoids that are already being used in the U.S., Canada, and Europe. The cost to perform these GC tests is much lower than the high-performance liquid chromatography, or HPLC method, which will help smaller companies and law enforcement agencies be able to perform reliable THC testing that won't blow their budget. Second is blending allowances for manufacturing. In the highly regulated solvent industry, of which our country leaders have decades of experience, there is a legally acceptable practice whereby the processor is able to blend intermediate batches of passing and failing product to make the final batch that passes the federal requirements for purity. For example, in that industry, if the federal purity limit for contaminants has to be less than 0.5%, and one batch comes in at 0.6%, and the second batch comes in at 4%, the two are blended together to make a final batch at 4%, which is in compliance with the regulations. This eliminates a massive amount of waste product, and all final product is tested and proven to be below the legal limit before being sold to the public as finished goods. We believe this practice should be adopted for CBD processors as well, whereby batches of product that may fall slightly above the legal limit for THC can be blended with batches that are below the limit as long as the final combined batch for sale is below the legal limit for THC. So the first batches are really just treated as intermediate stages of manufacturing, with the final result being in compliance with the legal requirements. Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate your willingness to listen to people from our industry on this important topic.
Scott,
Good afternoon. I'm Scott Ludwig, CFO of Hemp Technologies. I would like to address the problem that many in the hemp industry are having with financial services. Specifically, we are having a great difficulty obtaining business checking accounts and merchant services with state and national banks. Currently, the main option is to go with an offshore bank with very expensive fee structures and high cash reserve requirements, or obtain private funding. Many of these financial institutions outside the U.S. are somewhat questionable at best. The only other option would be to go all cash money orders. This comes with a host of problems, of which accounting and reporting transparency should be a great concern. Even with the passing of the Farm Bill of 2018 by the federal legislature and the passing of House Bill 1325 in Texas, we've been turned down by every bank we've approached to open a business checking account. They said they understand the huge potential of the hemp market, but right now it's too risky. Maybe try again next year. Last week, the U.S. House of Representatives passed the Safe Banking Act of 2019 with wide bipartisan support. It currently rests in committee in the Senate. This bill promises to go a long way in protecting financial institutions that want to provide bank accounts, loans, and merchant services to businesses in the hemp and cannabis industries. Texas hemp industry regulations would do well to include similar financial protections for banks, lenders, borrowers, and businesses in its implementation. It is also my belief that a well-written licensing and certification process with clear guidelines will further provide a sense of security to banks and lenders wanting to be part of this growing industry. I ask you to keep in mind the challenges that entrepreneurs in the Texas hemp industry are facing when attempting to obtain bank accounts and merchant services through quality U.S. banks and the financial institutions. And I ask you to craft the implementation of this historic bill with Texan entrepreneurs in mind by limiting fees, keeping them small and simple in structure, and publishing them clearly online. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take Elizabeth Jones, and then following Ms. Jones, Jesse Williams.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Jones. I represent myself, and I work in the field of substance abuse prevention and recovery. In my spare time, I'm a law student at St. Mary's in San Antonio. As a compassionate consumer, I'm glad that more therapeutic options are available to patients with intractable medical conditions. As a public health advocate, I have concerns about widespread commercialization of drugs, whether therapeutic or illicit. We've seen in the past 4 months what can happen when legislation is passed without careful contemplation of language and consequences. My primary concern is that CBD products must be mindfully regulated, and manufacturers, distributors, marketers, and retailers must be held accountable for the health and safety issues surrounding their products. Poor regulations and good regulations poorly enforced will result in more of the consequences we already see in Texas. My recovery organization has already had multiple drug court clients receive sanctions for THC-positive urine drug screens when those individuals were told by disreputable or simply unknowledgeable retailers that their products contain no THC. For myself, as a person with an autoimmune disorder, I wouldn't dare touch any CBD product because I can't be sure that it doesn't contain allergens, gluten, bacteria, or other contaminants due to improper manufacture, labeling, or testing procedures. These types of incidents are unacceptable for medical drugs that are available on the open market. While CBD has potential to provide relief and health benefits, unregulated products and irresponsible promoters will increase costs and negative consequences. Lack of oversight now may lead to personal injury and deceptive trade practice litigation in the future. I'm urging this agency to consult public health advocates and medical experts in constructing these regulations, rather than allowing those who profit from these products to direct the rulemaking process. Thank you for your time and your care in addressing this issue.
My name is Jesse Williams. I'm with educatingtexans.org. First, I want to thank you for giving the public the opportunity to give the department feedback on this highly important topic of consumable hemp in the state of Texas. This will provide everyone the opportunity to suggest how we move forward in a way that keeps consumers safe and informed, producers making an incredible and safe product, and most importantly, we keep Texas as the #1 state addressing environmental issues, as it is imperative that we do everything in our power right now to ensure that our future generations have a safe and clean place to call their home. Cannabis right now is the biggest key the state has been given to address this problem. So first off, we need to address not only massive commercial and corporate grow operations, but homegrown and small business grow operations. Both should be allowed as long as they fall within the language of House Bill 1325. Participants of both types of operations need to have equal access to the benefits of this plant, as that creates the fairest market system and benefits the public. This will also mean that fees need to be kept reasonable according to the size of the operation. We cannot expect a local small business to pay a price that only a massive corporation can pay. That brings up the requirement of other laws. This is number 2. This session to include Senate Bill 572 regarding cottage food laws. As the bill now allows dehydrated fruits and vegetables, including dried beans and dried herbs or herb mixes, and House Bill 1325 says that consumable hemp can be a food product. Hemp would definitely fall into this category and needs to be codified as such to eliminate any confusion on the topic. With this in mind, number 3, we need to have as an item of consumption expected to be consumed in mass. We need to ensure that credible third-party testing is allowed and can take place before state testing of hemp to ensure that products meet already established Farm Bill and state guidelines. This allows a much smoother and efficient process for both the producer and the state, saving taxpayers massive amounts of money. With testing, number 4, we need to also make sure that we have a code which will hold manufacturers accountable for products that are falsely labeled. An example would be, as mentioned before, labels that say THC-free must be absolutely THC-free, as this can cause massive issues for the consumer, especially in drug testing, as mentioned before, as it will accumulate in the body and start to give positive test results. Which moves to number 5, the public also needs a code to protect employees and families involved in drug testing scenarios. These scenarios would be where a doctor has prescribed or has given a written recommendation for hemp in the same manner as one would possibly prescribe melatonin, vitamins, even over-the-counter allergy medication and cough syrup. The public is going to be allowed to consume any product with 0.3% THC by law or lower, and even that is enough to provide a positive test result, as mentioned before. Citizens that are operating within the law should not at any point be treated in a drug test as if they are a criminal when they have in fact not violated any law, state or federal. I thank you for your time. I wish you the best of luck, everyone.
Okay, we will hear Jacqueline Winkle and then Sarah Kerber.
Hello, my name is Jack Stinkle, and I'm representing Foundation for an Informed Texas. I will be brief and narrowly talk about consumer protections because we can see it's very popular with all of the people here today. First off, I would like to note that there's a rapidly growing consumer interest in hemp CBD-infused products. 2019 Harris poll showed that 86% of respondents were familiar with CBD, and just under 10% used them regularly, usually for relaxation, anxiety relief, and improved sleep. Domestic retail CBD products are going to total over $1 billion annually, and they anticipate it'll surpass $16 billion in 2026. This increased market demand has drawn companies to fulfill this market need, but there's an absence of regulatory guidance for them. To date, these commercially available products are not subject to mandatory testing to either affirm CBD potency, the absence of adulterants, or the presence of pesticides. Consequently, independent testing of CBD-infused products often reveals inconsistencies between the advertised percentages and the actual amount contained inside of the bottle. I also offered written testimony, which has links to some of those findings for you. Other test products have revealed the presence of THC above the 0.3 allowance, which can put consumers in legal jeopardy. We mentioned some of the drug testing issues, but also there can be loss of employment that can come in with that, and we saw that happen in Representative Lucio's district recently with a teacher, I believe. Still, other products have been identified to contain unwanted and potentially dangerous adulterants, such as spice and DMX, as well as heavy metals and solvents. These adulterants were present in products that were tested from a store in Houston by the Houston Forensic Center. For years, producers of these products have operated in a gray area, manufacturing products of variable and sometimes questionable quality and safety. The implications for adulterants on consumer health is too important for this to remain fully unregulated. And DSHS has the opportunity to craft and benchmark safety guidelines and quality standards for hemp-derived CBD products. We think that many of these businesses that are already functioning would be very happy to have this guidance and would want to become compliant as soon as possible. Some of the things that regulations should address: establish standards governing the extraction methods and recommend good manufacturing practices which address solvents, pesticides, and heavy metals. Require that commercial products be tested for CBD content as well as for the presence of other cannabinoids such as CBN, CBG, and THC, as well as the terpenes that exist inside of the plant. And these should all be labeled appropriately with a QR code that allows customers to easily access the official lab results and their certificate of analysis. We should also ensure that products are free of contaminants, microbials, pesticides, and heavy metals. This also includes additional chemical compounds such as solvents or supplements, vitamin E or melatonin. Any companies who do not meet these standards or whose products are determined to be mislabeled should face consequences. And I'll close on this. Consumer protections are extremely important, and while we don't want it to be overly burdensome for the businesses, as that will trickle down to the price of the product for the consumer, we need to have a base standard for the health of the public. So thank you for taking this input in advance of regulations. Thank you.
And then Anna Wilder.
Hello, my name is Michael Robertson, and I'm with the Vegas CBD. We are a manufacturer of smokable hemp products, pre-rolls, and lots of other items like that. We have a lot of experience in California, Oregon, Colorado with we have a legal marijuana business there. We make cannagars and other products like that. So we're used to all of the regulations that these other states have put in that are very strict. And obviously we live in Austin, we're from Texas, so once the hemp became legal, we moved here, came back, and are now starting this company here out of Austin. So one thing that we, I guess, need some clarity on is the not being legal to manufacture smokable products in Texas. So we're actually set up out of Colorado again. Had to go back out of state once we realized that was in the law. And really just kind of want some clarity on that. Want you guys to think about that as you make the regulations about being able to do stuff here in Texas. Because we can bring it in, once it's made there, we know we can bring it in here. But we would like to see about actually being able to manufacture things here as well. Thank you.
Johnston.
I just want to come up and mention that we are a CBD honey that saves the bees. My name is Skylar Johnstone. We created a company called Being Delightful. And as a consumer-facing and forward-facing brand for the last 8 years, I've been producing and manufacturing cannabinoids and dealing with consumers personally. I think that testing is very important. I think that we should also test the end product as well as the batches, so we know that the dosing efficacy is in line where we want it to be. And also in line with testing is very important. Being from a state that has legal recreational cannabis, we actually cannot even look. We can look at the package, but we can't actually smell or taste the flower that we're looking at. And so for us, the testing is very important for the terpenes, the heavy metals, and pesticides. And as far as the consumable side goes with consumers, I don't think that we should set limits on how many milligrams. The federal level might change their mind, but we should at least wait to see what they have to say. And dealing with consumers on the consumable side for us has been a very special privilege because we get to hear back from how people are responding to these products. So we just want to say thank you very much for the effort that you guys have been putting in to allow for consumable products in Texas. And I very much look forward to being able to continue working with the consumer front facing. But my question would be for you guys would be clarity on independent people that are interested in getting into the business of doing events. So for example, we've done pop-up dinner parties around the country with a lot of success, and we'd like to continue to do such in Texas. So we want to know, is there going to be a state regulation allowing for people over 18, or is it going to be 21 like tobacco? Because our products are sold in places like smoke shops, where now in Texas it's going to be 21 and up. So we want to know if we need to have THC people checking IDs at the door for these events as well. And then on top of that, understanding exactly what's going into these products as far as the heavy metals, pesticides. Thank you very much for having us.
Howdy, my name is Nathaniel, and if you haven't heard of me, you won't forget me. For the last 10 years, I've been battling over this issue for my medicine, and I'll start by saying that I personally believe that we are all deficient and lacking of supplements in the endocannabinoid system. So I spent my entire summer session going to the Capitol, going room to room, following around with countless politicians and political leaders from all over Texas. I have been gatekeeped, I've been lied to by lobbyists and chief government officials over this issue. I was even offered a $25,000 shortcut to the front of an imaginary list for hemp farming by one of the chief lobbyists for Sid Miller. The reason I have come this far and I chose to spend my time here today is because I truly believe my voice can and will make a difference. I am a graduate from the Academy of Cannabis Science in Houston, and I'm what some consider an expert on hemp. I have studied the state's history in depth, thank goodness to a man named Les Stark who did a lot of digging, in depth, and I have seen this through our failed education system. I have personally seen the events from our past repeating itself on the horizon almost to the day. I am here to appeal to your better nature and your better logic so you can smell the smoke too. I also have come here to address issues that I, and millions of Texans, if not 99% of Americans, agree with me on. You have a real chance to change the future for the better by opening up and editing this bill. The reason this concerns me so deeply is because I have literally taken my life and dedicated it to him, which is in fact the same thing as cannabis. There is literally almost no difference. All these rules and regulations are built on a draconic system that seeks to preserve and perpetuate a cycle of monopolies filled by greedy investors, corporations seeking to bottleneck consumers into a never-ending cycle of taxes, of gatekeeping small businesses. This is fueled by a prison pipeline that incarcerates specifically dark-skinned individuals or anyone of an alternative nature, which is part of a bigger agenda that seeks to remove power from people and enslave us to our doom, which eventually is the world tearing itself apart. This is due to an instant gratification chasing baby booming generation who sold us short for fancy cars and ice cream. I've talked with thousands on this issue. We sent, as a people, our expectation and demands to our governments only to fall on deaf ears and stall tactics. The self-interest of these private and hostile entities must stop if we were to continue to change against the drastic police-state aggression towards minorities and the ever-present threat of climate change and eventually all-out war, which can be all prevented by hemp. Every single one of those things can be prevented by hemp. You may think that these issues are different, but I think hemp is the solution for all of our problems. You may also think that cannabis and hemp are two different things. I am here to tell you that you are mistaken. If you think that using racist words like marijuana are okay, they make you no better than Harry, but we'll get to him in a second. It's obvious that my
I'm going to ask you
generation...
to wrap it up soon. We have a lot of people.
I understand. I'm trying to.
If you would, sir.
Separation from us. You know what? I'll just sum it up. This is 1325, and I think we all agree that a lot of this stuff in here isn't outlined correctly. It was not well thought out, and it causes a system that's going to perpetuate monopolies to make their agenda personal. That's what I think about it. I conclude my statement.
Thank you. How about Seth Nair and Ben Sanchez?
Hi there, guys. My name is Seth Nair. I too represent Be Delightful CBD Honey. Just wanted to conclude with a couple of more thoughts. I'm one of the co-founders of Be Delightful. We manufacture hemp-derived CBD-infused honey. We've been manufacturing our product and manufacturing license in Texas for 2.5 years and retailing throughout the state of Texas in over 100 locations, including highly regarded locations like Eastville Co-op, People's Pharmacy, Fresh Plus, and many other locations. We've had meetings with DSHS Council in the past to clarify the federal laws that protected our right to manufacture and retail our product in the state of Texas. We've also been completely transparent with authorities in Texas, and we're heavily involved in championing consumable hemp into House Bill 1325. We fully believe that precise regulations need to be in place to properly educate and protect consumers in the state of Texas. Here, over the last 2.5 years, is our recommendations for the appropriate regulation for the manufacture and retail of consumable hemp. 1, a manufacturing license, nothing more, it's a food. 2, regular health inspections for commercial kitchens. Currently, we operate out of Capital Kitchens down south. This is a shared commercial kitchen. We've had no need for GMP certification. We simply follow the rules, we get inspected regularly, and we've had no issues in 2.5 years, no single complaints, and no problems with any consumers with our product. 3, QR codes point to third-party testing for cannabinoid profile proving less than 0.3% THC, and toxicity reports providing toxicity reports proving no detectable amount of pesticides, microbials, heavy metals, and residual solvents at a parts per million level. Third-party testing should not be restricted to Texas labs, as those third-party labs in Washington and California and more developed states are now just bringing all these tests under one roof. If I have to go to Texas for my cannabinoid profile, go to Washington State for my pesticide profile, it's going to be very inefficient. 4, no limits on total amount and product. Hemp extracts will come in all types of finished forms, from a single drink to a small or large jar of honey. What's important is that all the information is clearly and accurately presented to the consumers. We've been at farmers markets, including SFC and others, for over 2 years, and proudly and responsibly educated Austin about CBD. Thank you for your time. We'd be honored to be included in future discussions of regulation in Texas.
Hi, my name is Ben Sanchez. I'm the owner of Go Green Botanicals. As an expert in the retail side of hemp consumables, I feel it is important that the implementation of the cannabis commerce in Texas needs to instill the highest guidelines for retailers to bring high quality and safe products to the people of Texas. The understanding of the products and definitions of cannabis are crucial for the customer to understand. Understand the products and definitions of cannabis are crucial for the customer to understand. The retailer must be knowledgeable and educated on the products as we pass to our customers. The standard for certification should be set high, and standards for the retail products even higher. At Go Green Botanicals, we have been setting our standards for our products and staff members at the highest mark. We have imposed a proprietary vetting process for all of our potential suppliers by testing batch orders by a third-party lab test to confirm products quality and safety, which I have here, good and bad. We have found several instances of pesticides, incorrect amounts of CBD, and in some cases, products which claim to have CBD actually did not contain any at all. All of our staff members are required to take a cannabis CBD course and pass the certified exam. These curriculums are developed in other states where cannabis has been legalized for many years. Defining the terms of cannabis such as isolate, full spectrum, broad spectrum cannabis products should be standards in order for customers to understand comparable products and hold retailers to the same high standard of products. Ensuring the guidelines will result in correct labeling of cannabis products will result in an informed customer and a quality retail operation. I want to thank you for your time.
My name is Jason Roberts. I'm Pisces. I like long walks on the beach. I'm the president of the CRA Association, which is CBD Retailer Association, which is very specific to the retail end of the consumer. As many of you guys know, and as the board knows, the CBD industry has emerged as one of the fastest growing segments of the U.S. economy today. The industry continues to experience significant growth despite what would possibly consider significant impediments. Low barrier to entry, fragmentation, the lack of proprietary products, low cost ease of entering retail operations. Crowded field of players with lack of dominant brands, retailers, extractors, producers, and raw product growth. Inadequate public education, lack of clinical trials, and confusion to what is and what can and can't do. Lack of regulatory oversight, lack of established and enforced product standards, and related product assurance testing and certification. The state of flux on the books of legislation related to hemp and CBD products. Our association model, CRA allows its members to take control of their purchasing decisions, avoid falling prey to untrusted vendors. You hate to get the shakes, I'm not even nervous. I have no clue why that happens. Right, this one. No, it's like I get my brother. Avoid falling prey to untrustworthy vendors, resulting in safe and effective product for the consumer. CRA also helps members be better of delivering excellent service with the highest integrity and becoming the standard in the evolving industry through standardized testing, the CRA vetted published studies, and many other credible means. The CRA will be structured through multiple advisory boards, i.e. medical advisory board, law and compliance advisory board, advertising and marketing advisory board, to conform with the current laws and regulations set forth. All directors of each board will have a seat at the executive board for final vote to institute policy inside the association to ensure compliance with the protections of the consumer. A standardized training program or third-party CBD training program, okay? A standard third-party training program that will be required for all retail consumer members and their consultants to ensure factual information given to the end consumer. CRA will vet manufacturers, suppliers, packagers, etc. before any product will be granted a seal of approval for the product to be sold through our members' retail stores or e-commerce sites. Our approved vendor, supplier, manufacturer program will ensure quality, accurate testing, product first labeling, compliant labeling, free pesticides and heavy metals into an end consumer, and will not be allowed for sale by our members unless the product is CRA certified. Our team has significant experience and knowledge of the CBD industry, especially the retail segment of the vertical. The CBD's Retail Association belief is that if one's business does not have at least the majority of their sales, they should not be able to sell anything regarding CBD as they don't deem fit. So no gas stations, no corner stores, and make this legitimate.
I apologize for this. Joe Ian, and then Matt Atwood.
All right, thank you. Joe Deacon, representing Clients and Lockwood Consulting. Mike Robinson from the concerns I have. I think HB 1325 is in a step in the right direction. I've traveled all over the country: Oregon, Wisconsin, Colorado, California, Utah. I've gone to every producing state. I've seen the laws. I've seen the businesses and how they care about these laws. They care about the things that you guys are doing today and listening to the public in these comments. I do think that not allowing the manufacture of smokable flower does disenfranchise actually the farmers in Texas more than maybe you intended to, because manufacturers and brands are still going to go out and purchase smokable flower and sell it here in the state and follow every guideline that is set forth, but it's going to take that away from the farmer to be able to have that additional stream of revenue. And I think that should be considered, that just as we put up good manufacturing practices for manufacturers here in the state, is to also protect users' rights to smokable hemp products. They do have a powerful effect for users that use them, so definitely protect that, but also consider what the language that we're saying to the farmers and all the business that is going to be jumped over and sent out of state and brought back here to be sold. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Matt Atwood. I'm at Lone Star Life Sciences. I'm here to represent multiple groups. We have 4 different companies underneath our company. One is a Lone Star MedTech, where we represent doctors. Where it comes to doctors, the one thing that we hear all the time from their patients is, "Doc, what about CBD?" Doctors don't know what to say. They say, "I don't know if I can recommend it," or "I don't know where you're getting it," or "I don't know what quality control is." So we present and create a CBD quality product that is actually made out of a pharmacy that is held under state and board of pharmacy standards. So what we do is we present it to the doctors, we show them what's in it, we give them the third-party verification of what they know what's in it, and review the pharmaceutical-grade products that they feel secure and comfortable to be able to provide that and recommend that to the patients. That's number 1. Number 2, I represent Lone Star Agrotech, where I am presenting our hemp farming solution for 500 farmers in West Texas. Right now, the cotton farmers are suffering. The trade issues going on with China and with the U.S. have really killed the cotton farmer this year. There's a 40% reduction, 40% default rate right now on cotton farmer loans because they're down by the prices right now per pound of the 1960s, and they cannot survive that way. So we are actually presenting a solution to represent 20,000 acres in West Texas on next Saturday. With that said, we're also going to be, once we get that dedication on the acreage, we are going to be presenting a $10 to $12 million processing facility in La Mesa to be able to quickly process those hemps safely and doing it all by GMP standards and following other state rules. And the other situation that we also have is the educational lack of. I've heard me say that a couple of times in here. We have a CME accreditation course that we're building for doctors to be able to learn responsible recommendations or even prescriptions. What this allows us to do is if we have processing to be able to pull the CBD out of the product, it doesn't really matter if this field is hot with THC, because if we group it with other ones, it dilutes the THC when we do the processing, and we can defractionalize that out anyway. And once we have that raw THC, we will now be able to provide a state tracking system with our software to be able to track a database where it is blockchain in nature, where it allows electronic medical records for doctors to be able to prescribe it right out of their computer and allow the state of Texas to be able to track it on a blockchain all the way from seed to flower to processing to product, all the way through the product chain, all the way down to the patient actually being able to track data on their cell phone. So that's what we're doing. We would love to help the state of Texas. We've been already building this for 3 years, and so we're way ahead of anybody else in the country. We'd love to offer help. Thank you.
How about Dwight Clark and Zachary Maxwell?
Hello, my name is Dwight Clark. I'm with the law firm Vicente Cedarburg LLP. While I normally am involved in the legal industry, I couldn't help but think of a little business idea while I was in the background. CBD cures everything. I'd like to offer CBD for stage fright and public speaking. And I know CBD retailers in the room offer regulations. But in all seriousness, I want to thank you, Associate Commissioner Paul. I just saw Chairman Springer step out of the room. This meeting was instrumental in moving this forward. Robin and Lauren are here from Senator Perry's office, who's also been instrumental. And your staff, Rachel Anderson and Jordan Hill, have also just been doing really the young work on this. We really appreciate you guys taking the lead on the regulations. We don't anticipate FDA offering any sort of formal rules until well into 2020, barring some substantial action by Mitch McConnell. So DSHS taking the lead for Texas consumers is really important. I wanted to focus on one key thing that I think a lot of folks overlooked, and I think really needs to be spelled out in the rules, and that's the fact that HB 1325 requires products to comply with the Texas Food and Drugs Cosmetics Act. It's really important, fully support that, but it's one line in the bill, and we really encourage folks to know that they need to do that, so that should be considered in rules. And then also when you're designing the labels, which is going to be really important for a lot of the businesses in here, what does it physically look like in order to comply with the Texas Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, to have the URL, to have the barcode, to have the QR code? I think it's really important that you guys sort of lay that out as you're adopting rules and moving forward. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about, HB 1325 has a really unique provision that says if a product is substantially similar and manufactured in similar, it can be admitted to Texas from out of state. Well, what that actually looks like remains to be seen. I think it's important that DSHS work with TVA and the governor's office and the stakeholders to really spell that out. Because if you manufacture a product in California, you bring it to Texas, do you need new labels or do you not need new labels? What are the testing requirements for California versus Texas? And just being able to spell that out for you.
Good afternoon. My name is Zach Maxwell. I'm the president of Texas Hemp Growers. We exist to represent farmers, manufacturers, retailers, and consumers of hemp. I'm here today to address the proposed regulations involving the manufacturing, processing, and labeling of consumable hemp products. Without a federal or state framework, the industry is in somewhat of a cavalier state. Hit especially hard are consumers of CBD products, which currently exist outside of any standardized accountability framework. Last month, the Associated Press conducted its own testing of CBD products and found that of 30 products tested, only 6 came back with detectable CBD levels. although most didn't match what was advertised on the bottle. 14 products tested for less than 0.3% CBD, while 10 products tested positive for synthetic marijuana. The AP also found, hold on to your seats for this one, purported instances of CBD oil that actually contain the deadly opioid fentanyl. Sensible regulations are necessary to protect consumers and honest manufacturers and to cull out bad actors. After reviewing the language of the law, Texas Hemp Growers is in complete agreement with the proposed rules, but would also like to point out a challenge brought to our attention, which the Department of State Health Services may be able to address as it moves ahead. Under the section defining deceptive trade practices, the Department should consider specific language and punishment for manufacturers who put misleading batch information on their labels. While the law does not require batch identification numbers to be on labels, it was pointed out that some retailers will link the QR code to a different test result, which, when examined closely, does not match the batch number on the label. And I brought an example of a product that actually complies with the proposed regulations. And there's a batch number on there. When you scan this code, it goes right to the COA, and obviously that batch number is right on that COA. While the law addresses the Agricultural Department taking receipt of THC tests for cultivated hemp, it does not appear that there is any language requiring manufacturers to have their results sent to the Texas Department of State Health Services. Instead, it appears we will be relying on manufacturers and retailers to maintain their own documentation systems. Very few retailers maintain the website structure needed to support timely updates to its test results. Most retailers are adding this information manually, which means there's room for a retailer to miss their responsibility. To address this, the department might consider centralizing the testing information by requiring the testing laboratory, like TDA, to supply a copy of the test results or possibly upload them to a centralized server. The manufacturer could then be required to link their QR code directly to this database instead of their own, which may not have the most updated testing information. These are only suggestions. We appreciate the hard work of the State Health Services is doing to ensure the safety and security of consumers. Thank you.
We'll have Jonathan Green and then Nathan Kinman.
Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Green, and I'm here as a board member of the Texas Hemp Industries Association, as well as a co-founder and CEO of Texagon, a hemp distribution, logistics, compliance, and wholesaling firm headquartered here in Austin, Texas. I want to thank the Department of State Health Services for the opportunity to speak. And as a company and consumer, I look forward to helping establish the rules related to company registration, testing requirements, documentation of products, labeling, and packaging to ensure the health and safety of my customers and customers in the state. The hemp plant as a commodity is one of the most heavily scrutinized commodities in the United States. Initially, every farm in the country is required to take a pre-harvest compliance test to ensure the health and mind THC is below the federal requirement. Following this pre-harvest test, if you know what you're doing, typically you want to get potency, heavy metals, moisture content, and pesticide analysis to further ensure the efficacy of the tin, as well as it is legally compliant. This should only be the beginning, where I would hope that we can establish a proper chain of custody as this plant moves from farm to processors, manufacturers, retail outlets, brands, and other ancillary businesses where the materials should undergo further testing, which I would advise, including residual solvent analysis. Following the 2014 Farm Bill, this plant has been sold on thousands, if not tens of thousands of retail shelves by hundreds, if not thousands of businesses, including Central Market, Whole Foods, People's Pharmacy, and many other state of Texas. There's some good action by the Department of Public Safety in 2016 and the Department of State Health Services in 2018. Texas has quickly become one of the largest market
I'll be honest, I'm not as knowledgeable as most other people about this. I'm just simply speaking as a simplistic consumer. I take CBD products that helps with my anxiety, helps me be a little more productive, and it helps me think a little more clear. Now, one regulation that I would propose we do is that for the next 10 years, just about time, each private company will have to disclose on their labels what farm their products came from. And then they'll also disclose what companies they've done business with to make that product possible. And I think that the state of Texas should also have a website for the consumers to see what's going on as well. And after that 10-year time frame, I think the free market will be able to take care of itself and consumers will know who to trust and who not to, since this is a new and growing industry. Thank you.
Sheila Hill, and then Brian Williams.
I'm Sheila Hill from Brady, Texas. I come today as the Executive Director of the Texas Hemp Industries Association, formed in 2015 when we first started logging the state of Texas to allow our farmers to grow industrial hemp. This is real personal to me. The HIA, Texas Hemp Industry Association, is the official state chapter of the Hemp Industries Association that formed in 1994. Due to the HIAs, how come we've been able to enjoy hemp products to consume as food and material since about 20 years, when they had to sue the DEA when they tried to do overreach on naturally occurring low THC products. This document I have in front of you was delivered to the FDA that outlines a few things of recommendations from the Hemp Industries Associations. That the FDA should permit hemp-derived products to be excluded from the shade as the crop and its extracts were in commerce prior to 1994 as cannabis oils. On page 2, we would note, of course there are safety concerns, as there are with various supplements and foods, but these products are still on local grocery stores. Over-the-counter products like acetaminophen causes liver failure in high levels. Ibuprofen caused gastric bleeding with over 100,000 hospitalizations and 16,500 deaths per year, none of which have been reported from hemp consumption since 2015 since it's been on the shelves across the nation and in Texas. However, those hemp products were not grown by our Texas farmers like HB 1325 will allow. And I want to thank Senator Perry, Representative King, Texas Department of Agriculture, Texas Farm Bureau, many individuals who are passionate about what this plant can mean for Texas. Hemp serves as a badly needed rotation crop that will help restore nutritional integrity to our soil, food, and feed products. I come as the owner of Help Yourself Wellness Shop, providing health consulting for individuals since 2012. I have seen personally witnessed the health benefits to help people overcome many mental and physical conditions. My favorite is the 6-year-old little boy diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, who had been given a chemo drug that gave him migraines, migraine medicine that made him nausea, nausea medicine, pain medicine, 6 meds, all of which are paid for by Texas Medicaid system. Within 2 months of utilizing the oil that I distributed, his doctor was able to get him off of all of those pharmaceuticals, and he was able to reach his milestones for his physical therapy. I also come to you as a registered lobbyist with Texas Right to Know, advocating for hemp legislation, functional medicine, and integrated medical freedom to address the current state of Texas healthcare, which according to the 2019 Commonwealth Fund, ranks Texas 49th in prevention and treatment, and we stay a constant 51st because they added DC, the 50 states, for affordability and access. This is in a nation that ranks 27th in the world. Texas is better than this. And in 2017, our healthcare budget surpassed education. And until we start changing how we are addressing healthcare in Texas, I fear that we're going to be on the same path we've been on. So I plead with Governor Abbott, Attorney General Paxton, Commissioner Miller, and Commissioner Hellerstedt that we're all holding our breath what this FDA is going to come down regarding CBD use. I applaud our legislator that clearly stipulates that hemp products are an unadulterated as food and supplement. And I ask them to uphold our state law and protect our farmers' rights of free access to marketing and production of hemp, to put Texas hemp on Texas shelves. So thank you.
My name is Brian Williams. I am the founder of a company called Wayne & Reed. I don't grow or retail hemp. I'm a technologist. So we build AI, blockchain, mobile apps, and things of that nature to support the industry and to support the data that goes around it. So I have several concerns. So I stand here representing my company, but also stand here as a black person and a person of color who's impacted by this industry in very unique ways. So I'd like to ask for a few different things. The first concerns my second representation. The laws surrounding our hemp program are not necessarily 100% in line with those federal laws. So that leaves some gray area where there is opportunity for enforcement to happen more on the strict or less strict side. There have been cases in states where within that gray area span, you see people of color being enforced on the more strict side, and people who are not being more enforced on the not strict side. I want to ask the department to make sure to have an eye for that. Texas businesses are Texas businesses. We all pay taxes. We all make money. We'd like to do so the same way. So I'd like to make sure that that gets said so that we are proactive rather than reactive. Second, I want to discuss distribution, which is something addressed in the law, but not necessarily addressed from the perspective of licensure. We discuss growers, we discuss manufacturers, we discuss transportation, but we don't discuss distribution. So if I'm a distributor, do I need a license? Do I not need a license? What if I get my distribution from out of state? Am I responsible if those test results from out of state are different? We don't know. Another piece is surrounding the technology surrounding multiple aspects of this law, mainly the testing piece. Where I'm going with this is when you test a product, you get a certificate of analysis that's typically given in the form of a PDF. So the state really can't see what's in that or what's on that, and it tends to be a reactive sort of process when the state then, say, inspects a business or inspects a manufacturer to then see those COAs. They don't see them proactively. And also, there is a potential conflict of interest between labs and product makers. So if I'm a lab and you are a product maker, you are paying me to test your product. Better make sure it turns out okay, right? So when you're talking about having the information, there was a gentleman earlier in the red shirt who said that there's some disconnect between the labs and what comes into and out of the state into monitoring that. There should be a centralized place where that information comes, where the state can see it. I haven't seen a state that has done that successfully. I'm hoping Texas is number one. I hope they call it technologists like me to help them do it. And I also hope that there's some sort of analysis behind it such that we can identify bad actors easily and promote good actors easily so that we can kind of be a leader within the state from a technological standpoint. So those are my concerns. I hope Texas takes the best approach towards it, and thank you very much. All right.
Okay, we're getting towards the end of the public testimony. I want to remind anybody that if you wish to testify, you need to go outside the table and fill out one of these cards and bring it forward to us. I want to give you all that heads up as we're getting close to the end of our people that want to testify. So having said that, Alex Rose.
Hi, my name is Alex Rose, and I represent Advocacy Health Products. Advocacy creates topical CBD products, topical health products that contain CBD. So these products also contain things that the FDA considers to be active ingredients like camphor, menthol. One of the best ways to think
Steele.
Good afternoon. Andrea Steele, I'm an attorney with Coach Rose, Texas law firm. My office is based out of Houston. I didn't prepare remarks because I just came up with this as I was listening and noticed that this didn't necessarily come up. But there's a portion of HB 1325 which requires the health department and DPS to develop a process for random testing of cannabinoid oils in retail and other establishments. And I would like to suggest that that you come up with, clarify what is a reasonable amount, clarify what is considered a harmful ingredient, and ensure that there are some sort of protections or compensation for the retailers or other establishments or businesses to take their inventory in doing this. Just wanted to consider. Thank you.
Okay, my counsel informed me that since the public meeting notice that we sent out, said the public meeting is open until 3 o'clock, we cannot close it at this point. More than hang around until 3 o'clock, you're welcome to do so. We'll take a break until then, but we'll be here. You're more than welcome to stay or not stay. I'll leave that up to you all.
Well, just in time, I guess, huh?